Good morning, church. I hope I'm on to see all of you. This is the Sunday that we are going to celebrate our Pride Sunday. It's the last Sunday of June, and June is known as Pride Month. And as an open, welcoming, and affirming congregation, we are going to celebrate our Fairview Pride and wear our rainbows and celebrate with one another. So I'm excited because we've got some great folks to share, not just myself, but you'll see some faces and voices that you know so well. And this will be a wonderful opportunity for us to really gather in community and celebrate who we are as Fairview Community Church. So I am on, and I see that Walter is on. Walter, so good to see you, my friend, watching from Vegas. Anyone else on? There's 4 of you on, but I can't tell who you are. So you have to say hello so I know that you're there. I know that Miley and Mike are there, and I get to see their faces. Miley's smiling and looking very much like Elsa this morning. The Toms are on. Good morning, Toms. How are you? Welcome back from Florida and your trip. Praying that you're safe because we don't like the numbers in that state, but we don't like the numbers in our state. So everyone stay safe here, and it is good to see that you're home. Jim, Sherry, it's good to see you. I've listened to you this week. Our music team has prepared something really beautiful for us this morning, and I'm excited to share it with all of you. So let's see, who else is on? Matthew's on. Good morning, good morning. I just enjoyed our time so much last week, so nice to have you here again to worship with us and be a part of this incredible community. Who else is on? You got to say hello, so I know you're here. And there's 8 of you. So all 8 of us are on saying hello this morning. It's a good day to celebrate rainbows. This morning I woke up and it was a little bit of that June gloom and the water began to drip from the sky, and I think that means that there might be a rainbow out there. So I hope that there are folks hunting for rainbows as we celebrate rainbows this morning. Libby and Rebecca are on. That's great. I think we'll hear a little bit from them in a few moments, and I'm excited about that as well. So it's good to be with you, church, and I am glad that you are here with us. This is going to be a special morning as we reflect upon our journey. I call it a story of rainbows. And so it's the story of Fairview Community Church and our open, welcoming, and affirming celebration. So I'm glad that you're here and that you'll participate in this with us. You have to say hello. I know there's 11 of you on, but you have to say who you are and a little hellos. And of course, there will be time for hellos later, but I would love to see who's on now so that we can interact a little bit. We are, of course, doing our greeting time as if we were outside on the patio of our front door, the sidewalk there, or in the narthex saying hello. A face that's always there is Chuck Dill, and he is listening right now. So I know Chuck's saying hello. He always sends me a text each Sunday morning to say he's coming on to listen, and he's sending his love. So consider that Mike is on. My friend Jill is on from South Africa. So good to see you. She's watching across the world, and I don't know what time it is, but I'm guessing it's late. Can you tell us what time it is where you're watching? We met several years ago when I went to South Africa, and she works at a seminary there, and I was visiting our missionary, and we got a chance to gather together, and she showed me her beautiful country. Good morning, George. It's good to see you. I'm going to give you a call later on today so I can check in on you. Good morning to all of you. We've got about 5 more minutes before we'll begin our service, so we just get a chance to chat and say hello and recognize who's here. So tell us who you are, where you are, and send us a good morning. 7 p.m. So 7 p.m. in South Africa. I think it's about the same time in Germany as well. You're about the same spot. Erica's watching, and we know it's 1 o'clock where you are. She finished her run, I suppose. Margaret's watching right here in Costa Mesa. So good to see you all checking in. Jill, give us an update about how's it going in South Africa. I'd love to hear that. What are your numbers like there? And I know you're staying as safe as possible. So we have about 5 more minutes that we just get to chat, and I mostly get to chat to Mike nodding his head. So you have to interact with me so that I know that you're all here. I get to see Miley. She's nodding her head too. All of us can nod our heads wherever we are, and she's waving. That's such a wonderful, beautiful sight. We get to have our interaction each Sunday morning, and Molly gets a chance to say hi to Miley, which is something she absolutely loves because she doesn't get to see anybody else. Hi, Daryl. How are you? Daryl is my daily pilot buddy, and he's the one who first introduced me to Rabbi Stephen Einstein because he was reading me in the paper and shared it with his rabbi. So good to have you with us. A hot day, 1 o'clock with Erica. It's again, we got that June gloom overcast right now, but it's breaking. The sun is breaking through, and if we were on Rainbow Watch, we might even catch one. Lockdown 95 days in South Africa. Well, we've lifted a little bit too early here, we think, and we're hitting some bad numbers right now. But we're pulling together as neighbors do to love one another, to wear our masks, and be conscientious about how we do life so that others can live. So that's what we're up to doing. There's Harley and Ruji are on. Good to see you. And Harley, I already got to hear a little bit of what you've got in store. Always beautiful. So good morning to folks. And let's see what else. It's going to be a Pride Sunday. If you're just joining us, we're celebrating our commitment as an open, welcoming, and affirming congregation. I'm calling it a story of rainbows and how we came to be, celebrating who we are and the people among us who make us Fairview Community Church. So I'm wearing my rainbows today, and I invite you to wear yours. And let us know who you are and where you are listening and watching. And how do you celebrate Pride? We had to do this in a new way this year. Usually we're at OC Pride and we're marching in our Pride Parade, and there is nothing more beautiful than seeing our church decked in rainbows and throwing beads and sharing God's love. So this year we've had to celebrate Pride in a different way. And I wonder how you've done it. How have you celebrated this month? And how do you live out that commitment to being open, welcoming, affirming in your life? You can just send a message here and tell me how you do that. About a few more minutes to go, and I just want to say hello to folks. So I noticed that Carrie Lester just come on. So good morning, Carrie. Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that all of you are here. And I've got 20 of you now. So you're coming on, and I just want you to say hello as you get here. And also a reminder, as always, to share. You can do that button now. I'm going to do that button now. Just push share and then put it out to your community. So I want to write, join us. And I think it's going to go out, and then anyone can join us. It starts a watch party, and then you can invite others. And I always try to do that during the songs so that other people can join us. And that's so important so that people know that we're here and we're doing this work, and that we really do have a mission and a vision to share God's love beyond Orange County. So we know we're on 2 continents. I don't know if we're on the 3rd European continent where our other FAR members live. But we could try texting Gerlinda over there and see if she's ready to join us. My colleague, Gary Chomiak, is there. Gary, you did a great job at Annual Gathering this year. It's nice to see you. I loved your hat. And so we've got lots of folks on with us. And please do chime in. I've got about a minute before we begin our service and the song begins. So give me some hellos so I know you're here. You can see this. Walter says he's celebrating Pride by remembering the feeling of liberation I felt the first time I went to a Pride parade and never knew there were lots of people like me. That is so beautiful. Thank you, friend. There are lots of people who love and support you and walk with you, and we march together online and in spirit as we open our church doors and proclaim a sanctuary that is for all people. So we're glad that you're here. Go ahead and keep sharing your celebrations of Pride, the way you live out a rainbow vision for our world. We're going to sing some songs that I love. The song that's coming up next is one that's dear to my heart that we sang a lot in 2008 or 2008, 2009. I'll talk a little bit more about that soon. But now I would love for you to stand if you are able, or sing out from your couch. join us as we begin our opening song, which is called Standing on the Side of Love. So let's join together and begin our worship.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in the heart is a guide. We are standing on the side of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are standing on the side of love. Oh, perhaps we built a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are standing on the side of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are standing on the side of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are standing on the side of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are standing on the side of love. We are standing on the side of love.
We are standing on the side of love, and it is good to be standing with you. That's what we do here at Fairview Community Church, is we stand on the side of love with a commitment to love everyone. Jesus tells us that the greatest commandment is to love our neighbors as ourselves, as we love our God. And so we celebrate God's love, and we celebrate a commitment to loving one another. We do that as Fairview Community Church by holding the tension of our world. We recognize that there is pain and heartache and chaos, violence and illness in our world, but we also recognize that there is a whole lot of love. There is joy and there is celebration. There is hope. We rest in this hope. We abide in it, and we know that God gives us the strength to sit in the tension of both, holding it together so that we can do and be church together. And that's who we are as Fairview Community Church. We are physically located, our church building is located in Fairview, on Fairview Road, we're Fair and Fairview Cross in Costa Mesa, but we are worshiping all over, and you might let us know where you're worshiping from, because ultimately we recognize that God's house is your house. And so we intentionally create space together. We make this moment holy by pausing to be together and recognize the Spirit that is already among us. So let us celebrate together in this moment as we celebrate and worship our God, as we see God manifested in our world. So Fairview Community Church is a proud, open, welcoming, and affirming congregation of both the American Baptist Churches USA and the United Church of Christ. And that means that we are intentional in our welcome to the LGBTQ plus community. As Baptists, we are proud to be a part of the Association of Welcoming and Affirming Baptists. And as UCCers, we're proud to be a part of the Open and Affirming Coalition throughout our denomination. So today, you might guess, we are celebrating that we are proud of our church, and with our pride, we're celebrating the last Sunday in Pride Month. So we welcome you this day and hope that you will celebrate with us. The opening song was written by Unitarian pastor, the Reverend Jason Shelton, and he wrote this just about during 2008 and just after, as he looked at what was happening, particularly here in California, but what was happening across the country as we fought what was at the time in California Proposition 8. We called it the Proposition 8, Proposition Hate, because it was intentionally divisive and wanted to ensure that same-gender couples could not marry. We fought that, and we stood on the side of love. And so he wrote this beautiful song that continues to compel us to stand on the side of love, whether it's for LGBTQ plus inclusion or any place where we see others who are marginalized and left out, oppressed, impoverished. We know that Jesus has called us to stand on the side of love. And so this day we're celebrating that as we celebrate Pride Month and our commitment to the LGBTQ plus community. So we are glad that you're here. We hope that you will share in the spirit of this moment and also share on your Facebook. Most of you are probably watching this from Facebook, although you could be watching it on our website. So I invite you now to share. It's so easy. You just push the share button and it creates your own watch party. And then you can toggle back and forth between live and watch party. And you can invite your friends. And you really help share the good news by just one click of a button. So we hope that you'll do that and ensure that others get to celebrate with us. You know, it's still remarkable that it is unique to have a church that is intentionally open, welcoming, and affirming. And so this day we celebrate our commitment and hope that you'll join us in that celebration by sharing this morning's service. We invite you to comment along the way, get to know one another, share where you're from, and share the peace of God among us. You can do that throughout the service. It's always fun to see where you're at. I think today it would be lovely if you would share a rainbow moment in your life. I know that rainbows are all about promise and covenant and hope. You see a rainbow, you're lucky because there's a pot of gold at the end, right? So where have you experienced rainbows in your life this week or even throughout quarantine? Let us give ourselves to these rainbow moments and celebrate with each other. So you can do that throughout the time I'm talking. Just write in your rainbow moments as you say hello to one another. So I know that you're watching on Facebook and hopefully sharing on Facebook. There are others who are listening on our Dial a Sermon, and so we're glad that you are dialing in. The number, in case you want to share this with a friend or family member, is 714-656-4130, and we invite you to share it with anyone who might be at home and looking for connection. You don't get the entirety of our service. They don't get to hear all of this, but they do get 2 sermons and a song, and so we want to ensure that they get the opportunity to experience worship and connection and relate to one another. And then afterwards, you give them a call and see if they listened to the sermon and how it was. I know that Suzanne and David Gumpertz do that, and I love that he's probably listening to us and watching in the mountains in Arrowhead, and Suzanne's listening right here in Costa Mesa. So it's a wonderful way to connect families and friends and ensure that folks are being reached during this time, which is so often about isolation. So go ahead and give them that number, 714-656-4130, so they can listen in too. I want to thank everyone who is creating our service, and today there are many who have participated, so thank you to all who have chosen to participate in today's service. I am so grateful to you. It's wonderful to have you with us. I especially want to thank Mike Karakis, who makes all the magic come together. He takes what our music director, Mike Phillips, creates with our music team, as each of them are creating their music at home and sending it in, and he is putting it all together in a wonderful and beautiful way. And then we get to experience it. Cindy Condit created our PowerPoint, and she sent the PowerPoint, and Mike sent the music, and Elena Hurst created the videos, and again, Mike Karakis put them all together. So thank you, and thank you to all of our special guests today who are participating. Speaking of our music team and singing and seeing different faces, we've been trying to get you all to participate in something I think is wonderful. It's been about a month now, but I would like to give you one more opportunity to get your videos in for our Carry the Light video project. It is going to be so wonderful to see all of your faces singing our beloved song. So I would love it if you would follow the link that Jamie's going to be putting up right now. It's going to come from Fairview Church, I think. Follow this link, and all you have to do is take your camera, put it horizontal, give us a wide angle of about here to here, what you see of me, and then click on the video link that she's going to give you at the YouTube. Put some earphones in your ears. Sing into the microphone as you're singing along the song that you know so well, and record yourself doing it. Then take that video and send it to Julia Grace. Her email is there as well. You can send it in any form, in Dropbox or Google, or even the way you Apple people send things, your special way. She will receive it and she will create it all together, but she's still waiting on folks. So I know you, Fairview, you all want a special invitation. This is your personal invitation. Please participate. Your pastor would love to see your face, and I think we all love to see everyone. So join us as we carry the light and do that together. Send those in. So speaking of singing out, will you join me in one of my favorite hymns? I sing it at my ordination, and I think it's just perfect for a moment such as this. It's called In the Midst of New Dimensions. Let's sing.
In the midst of new dimension, in the face of changing ways,
Who will lead the pilgrim peoples wandering in their separate ways?
God of rainbow, fiery pillar, leading where the eagle soars. We are people, ours the journey, now and ever, now and ever, now and evermore. As we stand, a world divided by our own self-seeking schemes,
Grant that we, your global village, might envision wider dreams.
God of rainbow, fiery pillar, leading where the eagles soar. We are people, ours the journey, now and ever, now and ever, now and evermore. We come now
We are in the midst of new dimensions. It's so much of our world changing upon us with uncertainty in the air. We don't know where to go next. As we stand a world divided, we can find hope, faith, comfort, and challenge in our God. Who will lead the pilgrim people? It's the God of rainbows. And so it is just this, that we journey together, for ours is the journey. Now and ever, now and ever, now and evermore. So now, let us turn our minds and our hearts to prayer. As I said, we always hold this tension of heartache and joy, petitions for help and gratitude for blessings. And so we enter into this time fully aware of the pain of our world, and yet so grateful for the joy in our lives and in our church. We certainly pray for the health and safety of our community and all who are sick, particularly those who have contracted COVID-19, and any of those folks who are supporting the ill, many who cannot be with their loved ones, others who don't have the coronavirus but are ill, and we experience the same sort of isolation where people cannot be with their loved ones when they are in the hospital. It really adds a whole new dimension to illness and even death. I want to pause and lift up our dear brother Matt Royster, who is in Colorado but is with us in spirit, and thanks to quarantine, oftentimes with us connected in worship. He has unfortunately learned the news that his cancer has returned. This means that he's going to undergo surgery in a few weeks. Simultaneously, he suffered what appears to be an unrelated instance where his heart went into AFib and he fell, injured himself, knocking out his teeth, which was a terribly traumatic experience for Sandy. And that was all preceded by a shoulder surgery. So we want to particularly lift up Matt today. Matt, we love you and we are praying for your healing. So I want to invite you to join me, and I will begin the prayer. And as always, I'll leave some space for you to share in the prayer. And you can say your prayers aloud and lift them up to God. You can type your prayers into the computer and to share it with another or on your phone, so we can share it and share in your prayers with you, or you can simply hold this space and hold our silence together, and then I'll conclude our prayer. So, will you join with me? Let us pray. God of rainbows, fiery pillar, you lead us where the eagles soar, and you meet us in the dark valleys of our lives. Wherever we are, here you are as well. You know us, you love us, you hold us close, and you call us to live that love, embrace the holy, and carry the light. So today we pause to lift up all those who are in pain, the hurting, the brokenhearted. We are mindful that these are hard days. On this day, as we celebrate the culmination of a month of pride, we take pride in our church and our commitment to the LGBTQ plus community. We are also mindful that too many have felt abandoned by you, not because you have abandoned them, but your church has practiced an exclusive interpretation of who you are and lived by an unfaithful faith. We lament the pain that the Christian church has caused throughout the centuries and continues to inflict even now. We celebrate last week's ruling that nowhere in the United States can anyone be discriminated against based on sexual orientation or gender identification. but we lament that we still have a long way to go. And so we hold heartache and celebration. And we lift our prayers to you. For the LGBTQ plus community, for those who are ill, for all who grieve, and for any who hurt, and for the hope and the joy we experience in you and in community. Holy One, hear our prayers. I pray for Angela from Pilgrim Pines and her husband who have been diagnosed with the coronavirus as they care for their 3-year-old twins. May this be gentle on them. May you hold them in your love. Prayers for Matt and Sandy. Prayers of discernment for all who are searching and questioning. God of love, hold us in your loving embrace and let us continue to live out our prayer in our lives. For you have called us to be your pilgrim people, to step out into new places and spaces and be your church. So let us live with all the colors of the rainbow and celebrate your love as we seek to carry the light, ever following our teacher, the preacher, the bread breaker, the healer, your Son, our brother, Jesus the Christ. Amen. And so it is that we extend this prayer into our lives. Now, as we come to the time where we consider how we can give of ourselves, I want to thank all of you for giving of yourselves so that we can truly be a beacon of light in Orange County. I think about it over and over again, but I continue to be amazed at the way this little church with so much heart has had an incredible impact on community. Church, I'm so grateful for you. And so I invite you to join me in this gratitude as we give out of our love and our hope and our generous hearts. You can give. Many of us are already signed up, and I thank all of you who are signed up to give automatically. Thank you for that. You can sign up, or you can give a single donation by simply going to ocfairviewchurch.org/donate and make a donation that way. You can use our text to give, which all you have to do is text the word give, G-I-V-E, to 714-584-6990, 714-584-6990, or you can always mail a check in, and we are so grateful for you for that. I just want to say that this week I have been blown away by the generosity and the kindness of so many of you who have supported Fairview Community Church, and many of you that we know, and we're grateful for you. And then there's been so many that we don't know. This week we received a lovely donation from a family that witnessed me speaking out about the mask mandate and writing some op-eds in the papers. And I'm just so grateful to those of you who have reached out with your cards and your letters and your emails, your gratitude, and even your donations. You humble me with your generosity. And I thank you on behalf of Fairview Community Church. And I'm so grateful that we walk together along this journey so we can truly shine the light together. So with that, if you give during this time, we will also stand up and join in the doxology. Let's sing out.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise God for all that love has done. Creator, Christ, and Spirit one. Amen.
Today I'm reading from Micah chapter 6, 6 through 8. What God requires. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with a burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God.
I think some of us have sort of a love-hate relationship with Facebook these days. If you're younger than me, you probably moved on to things like TikTok, which I don't really know anything about, except for after last weekend I have a newfound respect and admiration for. So thank you for those of you who are on it. I'm still using the old Facebook, and clearly we are as a church as well. It's the way that we can communicate to all of you, and I'm so grateful for it. But like many things, I sort of hold the tension of dislike and disgust about some things, and a lot of joy and hope and gratitude about others. So we're always holding the tension, aren't we? Mindful of naming both. Well, one thing I love about Facebook is the memories. It's always fun to see what I was doing last year at this time, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. Now I feel like we're down to 10 or 12 even. I've been on it quite some time, throughout almost all of my ministry at Fairview. So each time I find my memory is jogged, and I look back, and then I compare it to where I am now, and I've noticed that I seem to go on vacation a lot in May and even early June, and so I think about where I was, where I could have been. I wasn't in Cancun this year as I was scheduled to be for Nora's son and Becky's brother's wedding, but I was a lot of places that make me thankful for the opportunity to travel in the world and make me pause and miss that, but give thanks for all that I have experienced. So as I was looking at my memories this week, though, what unfolded before me week after week, I was filled with pride because it was OC Pride. I saw so many opportunities to celebrate as I reflected back on year after year of OC Prides. We have been active at the Orange County Pride since its return way back in 2009, when those of us who had organized against Prop 8 decided we'd have a picnic in the park. And there weren't very many of us, maybe 50 or so, and we all gathered in order to celebrate with a picnic. And that then turned into another celebration in Irvine, over in that Wild Rivers area. And that then turned into a big celebration in Santa Ana, where it's been for several years. But every year, Fairview has been present, either with a booth or in the parade, sometimes both. But we've marched in the parade every year since there has been one. And it is so joyful to experience our church in that way and to see the way others respond to our church marching. So with rainbows and beads and joy and a whole lot of love, we march and we share the good news about Fairview Community Church. I suppose our story, though, started long before we officially became an open, welcoming, and affirming congregation. Ultimately, it came from a belief in love. And while our congregation did not take an official stance until 2008,
we were really always on this trajectory because we felt that above all else, we were called to love and celebration. For those of you going way, way back, you might remember the name of the Reverend Roger Harrison. In the early 1970s, Reverend Harrison found a sanctuary in our sanctuary. He was an openly gay man, and to be clear, open wasn't exactly rainbow flag flying open at the time, but it wasn't a secret. He began attending during the Reverend Mel Taylor's years, and Mel Taylor did so much for Fairview, sending us on this trajectory to become a real thinking church. Just recently, when we were applying for the payroll protection plan, I was going through all of these old papers and documents, and I found some words that he had written about goals for Fairview. And my eyes welled up, and I realized what kindred souls we two pastors of Fairview Church were, and perhaps still are. So of course, Mel made space for Roger, and of course, he ensured that he would be safe here, that he could even take the pulpit a time or two. Where others would condemn him, Fairview would welcome him home. It wasn't much talked about, and it certainly wasn't the formal affirmation of gay people, but it was the beginnings of who we were becoming, and it was always about love. I think we have Mel Taylor and the good people of Fairview Church and Roger Harrison to thank for starting us on that journey so long ago. Later, the Reverend Dr. Gary Barmore would become our pastor. He would serve for 25 years with passion for celebration, theological education, and real joy for life and ministry together. His daughters, Becky and Beth, both grew up here. As PKs, they were a beloved part of our family. As each daughter grew, she embraced life, each facing challenges, but doing so with the incredible support of a father who loved them, and a mother and a stepmother as well, of course. Beth was challenged in becoming a single mother, and Becky came to her realization that she was a lesbian. Both were loved, neither were ostracized. In Becky's own affirmation of her identity, she helped move the good people of Fairview because they loved Becky. And if they loved Becky, then they loved a lesbian. Without even realizing it, they began to open their minds because their hearts were already open to her. Gary never pushed that we become what was still a relatively unknown concept within Baptists or even Protestant circles, a welcoming and affirming congregation. But he was consistent that the Christian faith is fundamentally about love, that this is the task of the Christian, to love our God and love one another as ourselves. He would get pushback from the American Baptist denomination. They would even boo him when he spoke of this mandate of loving without judgment. But he preached about love anyway. And Fairview would continue to be that place of love. That's the church that Libby and Rebecca fell in love with. Here's their story in their own words.
Hi, and welcome to Pride Sunday. Rebecca and I are so thrilled to be part of this church and part of this Pride celebration. In 1996, I was elected to the Costa Mesa City Council, the first open out lesbian in Orange County elected to public office. One of my interests was human relations and social justice. And working on that committee in Costa Mesa, I met Marty Barmore. Great gal, great worker, good things we accomplished on that committee. And then in February of '98, I received a phone call from a Gary Barmore. I hadn't met Gary yet. And he invited me as a city council community representative to come to Fairview Community Church and dedicate the new Fellowship Plaza. So as I did with all kinds of requests for my presence, I asked Rebecca if she would like to go with me. I knew pretty much what she didn't want to do or what I would never ask her to do. But this was one of those where I'll ask you, and I would love it if you'd come, and if you will, that would be great. Well, we did. We went to church, Fairview Community Church, on that day, and I had an opportunity to get up in front of the congregation and talk about the importance of community and community connections. And Rebecca was there at my side. We went to church. Gary Barmore gave a sterling sermon about social justice, and we sang a couple of spirituals. It was Black History Month, so we sang some spirituals, and I enjoyed the music very much. On the way home, afterward, Rebecca said that you'd like to go back.
That's right. I was always supportive of Libby's political involvement, and I wanted to be supportive, so I walked a lot of precincts and knocked on a lot of doors when she was first running. And she told me about this invitation, and I said, oh, okay, because I grew up going to church with my parents and my brother in North Carolina, but hadn't been much interested in church since I had come out, which was years ago. And so I said, oh, okay. I wasn't sure if the pew would burst into flames because we were there. But anyway, it was a lovely day, and I was just really impressed and kind of blown away, not just with the sermon, with the friendliness of the people. They were all very welcoming. And on the way home, I said, you're probably not going to believe this, but I want to go back to this church because I hadn't been involved in a church in a long time. So we did, and we've been there ever since. It's just a wonderful church, and we don't have to park our brains at the door.
We don't have to park our sexuality at the door.
Right.
Very
Quit.
open, welcome, and affirming church. And we've been there through that process.
Have to get the cat.
Yes, we have a cat that's chewing a
Eating
plant.
No, cannot eat.
So we have just embraced over the years Fairview Community Church. In 2008, Rebecca and I were married by Gary Barmore in our backyard. Sarah had to be at a conference, I think, that weekend, and we were running out of time because of the election and proposition, whatever it was. So we married, and we have just felt that Fairview has been our family and our community since 1998, and we love it. Thank you.
It wouldn't be until 2008 that we officially became open, welcoming, and affirming. It was after a year-long process of discernment, as we held conversation, as we studied and read books and watched movies, that we took that bold step and voted to officially represent both of our denominations in an intentional welcome to the LGBTQ plus community. We believed, and we still do, that it isn't enough to say you welcome everyone if you cannot affirm it. We needed to mirror the coming out process, and while we could never fully understand or experience it, in the process that we underwent, it meant that we couldn't just be those nice Christians that flew under the radar. We would come out of the closet too, And then, from then on out, people would know that this was a rainbow flag flying, LGBTQ loving congregation. Of course, most of you will remember, as I mentioned earlier, that 2008 was a significant year for California. It was the year that Prop 22 was overturned. And for a glorious 5 months or so, we were finally allowed to celebrate same-gender marriages. Quick on the heels of that declaration, of course, was the introduction of Proposition 8. And we suddenly found ourselves right in the middle of a fight. Fairview Community Church was propelled into what became really a national conversation as we joined our UCC sister churches and led the way in so many ways for our Baptist family of churches to fight for gay and lesbian couples to retain, at this point, the right to marriage. Well, you know what happened. We lost that battle. But we had clearly defined ourselves as LGBTQ friendly, and from then on out, Orange County and beyond would know who we, Fairview Community Church, was and what we stood for. We would continue to fight this fight until marriage equality was for all. It took a lot of years. There were a lot of actions, a lot of marches, and a lot of vigils. But what we found out early on was that people wanted to be a part of a church that welcomed everyone. We did this because we knew it was the right thing to do. We imagined that it would attract queer folks and queer families, but we did not realize how many straight people would seek us out because we did not exclude anyone. This would become the hallmark of who we are as an intentionally inclusive congregation. Here's a story from another one of our beloveds.
Good morning, Fairview family. This is Pastor Rod Eccles, Neighborhood Church, Laguna Beach. I just want to send some love to each and every one of you. I am so appreciative that you are with me. You are on the journey with me here in Laguna Beach, always in my heart. Without you, I wouldn't be here. I left the New England area back in 2010, made my way to California, San Diego area, looking for a church that was open and affirming, a church that had a vibrant and creative worship experience, and was also American Baptist. And I found that community in Costa Mesa, Fairview Community Church. Because of you, I was able to continue as an American Baptist, become ordained as an American Baptist, and wouldn't you know it, eventually find myself as part of the awe-inspiring, diverse, so incredible, and very timely, relevant denomination that we call the United Church of Christ. Yes, I continue as that Baptist-loving kid from Memphis, Tennessee, who will always appreciate the cultural blessings that that particular community has given me over the years. And I'm so proud to be a part of the UCC, to bring my voice as an African American preacher, pastor, lover of Jesus, and just a downright appreciative guy who knows where his blessings come from. You are indeed a blessing to me and will always continue in my heart and in my spirit for the days, months, and years to come. Fairview Community Church, a place where love reigns, where we don't check our brains at the door, where all are welcomed, a place where social justice is a part of who we are and a part of our Christian walk, a place where people like myself find our place in God and in this world. I am so grateful to Pastor Sarah, each and every one of you, and I look forward to catching up very shortly, perhaps later this year. Maybe a Beacon of Light celebration, virtual or not. I'll see you soon, and I love you so much. Take good care.
Good to see that face, huh? When Reverend Rod first contacted me about a decade ago, It was while he was still in Boston, and I was hoping he'd share a little bit more about that because he was moving to San Diego, California, looking for a welcoming and affirming Baptist church. And while he looked all over SoCal, the only one he could find was ours, Fairview Community Church. So for over 4 years, Rod commuted almost 4 hours a Sunday to worship with us. I'm glad he shared a bit more about his journey, though, because he made his home at Fairview, and we not only ordained him as an American Baptist pastor 4 years ago, but because of our dual affiliation with the United Church of Christ, we introduced him to the UCC, and he now serves as the pastor at Neighborhood Community UCC in Laguna Beach. All because there was no other American Baptist church that was welcoming and affirming in all of Southern California. He may have commuted the farthest, though Carol and Len commuted over an hour each way for the very same reason. But so many of you have found Fairview because you Googled Gay Church Orange County, or open and affirming, welcoming and affirming. Whether or not you identified as queer, you somehow made your way home because we were intentionally open, welcoming, and affirming. And so as we celebrate Pride Month, I take so much pride in you, Fairview, in your intentional welcome, in your fearlessness in the face of threats, your willingness to stand up for love, and the legacy that reminds us of who we have always been, that this is who we will always be, standing on the side of love. These haven't been the easiest months during quarantine, and with societal unrest, we look at the injustices in our world, particularly racial injustice. It has been astonishing the way people have chosen to blatantly disrespect their neighbors and fail to care for their health and safety. But even with all that is happening in the world today, there are reasons to celebrate. Last week, the Supreme Court ruling came in the midst of Pride Month, a month which had to cancel so many celebrations, and yet one in which we saw the LA Pride Parade turn into a Pride March for Black Lives Matter, just a demonstration of how we can work together for the inclusion of all. And now, finally, in the very same month, we get to celebrate that it is no longer legal in any state of this country to discriminate against someone based on sexual orientation or gender identity. This is huge, and I hope that you are saying amen, 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 and applauding with me now, because there's so much to celebrate with this ruling. And yet, we know that there is still so much work to be done. We will continue to fly our flag and speak out for equality, but we must remember to remain vigilant. This year alone has already seen an alarming number of murders of trans women, particularly trans women of color. As we proclaim Black Lives Matter, we must continue to affirm how necessary it is for Black trans lives to matter. For all trans lives to matter. Truly, we recognize that now more than ever, we must affirm that if all lives matter, we have to work for all lives to matter. And that must include standing with our Black sisters and brothers, wearing a mask to ensure that the vulnerable in our community don't get sick, and of course, standing in solidarity with the LGBTQ plus community. This is sacred work. And we must continue to do it. That's what really makes us open, welcoming, and affirming. I'm reminded again and again how sacred this work is, how necessary it is, how life-transforming it is to be affirmed, loved, and cherished. But don't let me do all the talking. Let's hear from one more of our own Fairview beloved.
Hi, Fairview. My name is Jess, and I just want to talk to you a little bit today about why it was so important for me to find a church that was both open and affirming of the LGBTQ community. I'm sure all of us know that for far too long, the LGBTQ community has been kind of villainized a little bit by more conservative religious beliefs. And growing up, that's a lot of what I learned. Now, all of the churches that I went to, I think if you would ask the pastors or the preachers what their stance was, they would always say that they were at least open to LGBTQ people, right? Because they want to have this picture of being open and loving, and at least inclusive of those who are marginalized. But at the same time, though they'll say that they're open, once you walk into those doors, if you are LGBTQ, like I am, then you're a lot of times not fully accepted for how you are. You're viewed differently. You get these sort of conflicting messages. And a lot of times, even though the preacher will say one thing, the congregation might do something else, right? So you're going to have this constant mismatch between them preaching love versus not actually feeling like you're receiving that love. And over time, that mismatch wears down on you. It wears down on your beliefs on the matter, wears down on your self-esteem. Like, do I actually belong? Am I actually loved? And also, it kind of wears down on your faith, because you see all of these people who are supposed to be, you know, living out the life of Christ. And on one side, they're saying one thing, but then when you actually see them living out their lives, they'll say such hateful things, not actually be inclusive of all, that they're putting these conditions on inclusion. And that was not something that I wanted to be involved with anymore, especially since coming out. So I was really looking for a church that would be radically inclusive, radically open, and affirming of the LGBTQ people, which I think that you can believe in like strict theology and be very dogmatic and still be radically accepting of LGBTQ people. I've done a lot of research. I'm very much an academic sort of person. I'm a graduate student, so that's kind of the route that I tend to go. And I do think that there is a place biblically, theologically, and most importantly, relationally, as God's children for fully open LGBTQ people. And I love that Fairview takes that same stance, that they are radically accepting of people who have for far too long been marginalized. And I have to say, I couldn't be prouder of the fact that my church takes that stance. So, thank you.
There is a lot to celebrate in who we are and the ways we have embraced one another and offered the love of God among us. Let us take pride in who we are, but let us continue to be humble as we walk with our God, as we seek the justice that the prophet Micah reminds us that we are called to seek out and fight for, loving with kindness and compassion, and a deep desire to connect with one another, to witness God in each other. And let us walk this humble path, always following our brother and our teacher, Jesus, along the way. Amen. And so, brothers and sisters, children of God, go out into a world a world that is broken, where there is pain and suffering and sickness, ignorance and violence. And let your rainbow shine. May you carry the light of love, my friends. Will you carry the light of love? Amen. So I'll see you on Zoom. Now, I've got to say I'm doing a interesting task of being in two places at once. I'm also going to be with our friends from United Church of the Valley, the place where I serve as associate. So I hope to see some of you on Zoom real quick. I'm going to pop off and go see my old church as well. Let us join together and sing out as we carry the light. Let's carry the light, my friends.
We all have witnessed your presence. We have received your grace. We give you honor and glory for moving into this place. Now we go out to share the good news. Now we go out to share